Should you train in season? Hot topic.
Yeah, this one, there's two camps in this one, and they're ready to go to war.
And they're either with us or without us.
Yeah, I will
Well,
die.
not
I
us,
will
that was
die.
it. But what?
I will
Or
die
on
on
the
this.
hill.
Die on this hill of pushing for kids to train in season. Definitely.
Yeah.
You want me to? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Hit it.
I would say it's very important. I have numerous examples, and just even thinking future for when I'm blessed with a child, Lord willing, we're able to have one day. But just the importance of, even out of season. So I'm training this whole time that my sport hasn't kicked off yet. And then once my sport starts, I'm just gonna stop. And I'm only gonna focus on my sport and on my skill and on my craft, but not do any maintenance work or, keeping the muscle strength or the weight that I'm at, that I just worked this whole off season for. And we see so many kids leave and, they end up getting injured or just lose their explosiveness or the power or the speed that they had in the off season. A lot of it due because they stopped training in season. And I just hate to see kids go through that. And I know that their sport is important to them, but also is their health and making sure that they're going to stay at their best performance that they can possibly be at in their sport.
Yeah, I think this comes back to why are we doing the things that we're doing, and I think for many coaches, it's because the way we've always done it, and that shouldn't be the top of the line answer. And we mimic those who we see, who we look up to, or who is an authority figure over us. So if my coach grew up where in high school he didn't lift, fairly certain he's going to tell his athletes, hey, you're not lifting, and well, I'm going to believe him. He's my coach. I trust him. We also look at professional athletes who aren't lifting in season, and I think it's important for us to understand, especially with that one, is they've been playing 20, 30 years since they were little kids. Chances are several things. Number one, chances are is they've probably acquired enough volume that they can take a bit more time off than your high school student. Number two is their genetics has them predisposed to athletic greatness. And so they don't need, taken very loosely, they don't need to be doing the strength and conditioning. Their genetics is going to get them through regardless of what they do. And I'm not knocking their hard work, and I'm not saying that they're not out there training incredibly hard. They are, but if you start to actually look at some of the programs that some of these professional athletes do, they're just absolutely ridiculous. And so if they're out there doing, borderline insanity, and they're still at the top of their game, to me, that's saying, hey, you know what? It probably shouldn't be the professional athletes that we're looking for in terms of what to mimic in season and off season. I should be trying to do whatever I can for me to get to that next level, and whether I want to go and play in college or whatever it may be. And I find it hilarious that we'll put in all of this time just to stop.
Right.
And then a few months later, our season's over and we come back, and I always laugh because the same students who leave, they come back and they say, well, I'm weaker. Why?
I don't know.
And listen, hey, listen, I know some of you, your coaches don't let you train in season. I get that. But I do find it hilarious that we've somehow had this disconnect of, if I stop training, I'm gonna get weaker.
Right.
And it's like, well, yeah. Do you think that people just train for 6 months and then now the rest of my life, I just...
So personal question is, I've talked with parents and, they've said, well, they're exercising their sport and their game and they're running back and forth and they're jumping. Like, isn't that working the muscles? Shouldn't that be enough? Isn't that and lifting the same thing?
First off, no. We want our body to be under some external load. I want to be strength training. Number two is just playing that sport. It's just doing that sport year round or
Right.
whatever it may be. Okay, I'm not going to lift. I'm going to do more of that sport. That's where we see overuse injuries.
Right.
That's where we see repetitive injuries. Additionally, strength training has been linked to a decrease in injury, not just muscular, but joint, ligament, etc. So to me, the benefits of strength training far outweigh anything that just playing a sport can give you. And we can look at, we'll look at that question of, well, can I just play my sport? And we'll look at the literature that we have on the different components of what we call athleticism. So you can Google this. I would encourage every parent and athlete out there to Google rate of decay or rate of residual effects. And it'll go through power and strength. It will go through aerobics, aerobic work, and anaerobic power, etc. And what we see is that strength, whatever strength I have gained in 21 days, plus or minus 5, I am going to start to lose those effects. Power, on the other hand, is 5 days plus or minus 2, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But what we can see is, let's say I'm a power athlete, and I've been working on some high pulls or some cleans or snatches, whatever it is I'm doing for my power. Less than a week from me taking off from those exercises, I am now losing that power output. So we see that. Let's look at the bright side now. Let's look at these parents or these coaches who say, you know what, you absolutely shouldn't train in season. We see that strength sticks around for 21 days. As a coach, I don't expect you to be doing the same amount of volume or intensity you would do in the off season. But at bare minimum, give me 2 days out of your week to come in, even for 30 minutes,
Right.
even if you're just going to hit a couple of compound lifts. And you might not even be on such a regimented structure. You might back squat 1 week. You might bench press the next week. You might do some type of a clean pull the third week. And now I can cycle back to that back squat as long as I'm getting minimum effective dose
Right.
of training during that season. And I think that goes a very, very long way. Injury reduction, just overall athletic performance, and I think the mental side of it. I mean, how many kids do you know that once they're bought in, that is what is
Exactly what
is
you want.
making them that better athlete?
Right. Yep. Definitely.
I'm glad
Where,
we-
did you want a specific or not?
If you want, yeah. I mean, you're more in the in-person realm than I am.
Right.
Um,
So you're saying once, like for our training specifically, once a kid falls in love with what we're doing,
And now, let's say basketball coach, we're
Right.
heading into baseball season. Baseball coach says, nope, you're not allowed to train at all. Not allowed to go to power train.
Right.
Like he takes that kid. Like,
Right.
have you guys seen any examples of like that? It's devastating to that kid. Right?
Yeah, 100%. Because that kid, guy, girl, wants to get better. They see that they're excelling. They're seeing that they're getting stronger. They're seeing a difference in their performance of play, and taking that advantage away from them sucks. Like then they know that they're not getting to the potential that they could be at. And it just creates a division between coach and player, and you just don't want to have that. You obviously want both sides to be happy, and you obviously want the coach to be getting the best out of his player.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap this question up with, I'll have one more question because I do think it's kind of unfair. We have an athlete out there who's listening to this and they're seeing all of the bad that's associated with not training. But some of them, especially our middle school and our high school athletes, they don't get a say, right? And so my question would be is like, what about the individual who doesn't have a say? Like, I don't want,
Right.
I don't want my young athletes out there beating themselves up because, oh, okay, Coach Mitch, Coach Thomas are saying you absolutely should be training in season, all these benefits, and now they're told, well, like, hey.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a young kid? He says, hey, you know what, Thomas? I can't train in season. How are you going to pick him up? How are you going to make him feel better?
At the end of the day, you have to be respectful. You are a student athlete at the end of the day, and you have to respect your coach's decision. Take care of your body as much as you possibly can, but also understand that you have a duty to do, and just rock it at your sport.
Yeah.
What would you say?
If I would say if you're going to have to miss 3 months out of your training, then just don't you dare miss another day of your training. Right. And so I think we see this a lot with kids, is the same kids who, and listen, my son is going to play 3 sports year round. I want him to play sports. I think it's an awesome place to build character. But we have these, let's say you're a kid who plays only one sport, right? Nothing wrong with that. And you have 4 months out of your year dedicated to playing that sport. What I see is a lot of these kids who complain about having to miss training in season are also the kids who are very sporadic with their training. They're very, they're inconsistent. So they'll show up 3 days one week, one day the next week. They'll miss 2 weeks. So if you're going to have 1 sport, 2 sport, 3 sport, if you're not in season, do not miss, period. And I think that is going to have a tremendous benefit if you're someone who is stuck in a season.
Right. Any opportunity you get to be able to get into a gym, do it.
Yeah.